the Twin Towers fell across the road to the 21st century. And the United States had an opportunity to go, left or to go right.
America never really wrestled with what bin Laden said was the motivation for the attack. They were told we were attacked for our freedom. What do we know about the Saudi government's involvement? What can you say to that? Because bin Salman seemingly dismissed the question as if it was a baseless conspiracy.
Well, to put it bluntly, there's just no question whatsoever that bin Laden had, at the very least, financial backing.
Hey Detoxers, welcome to a special episode of the Disinfo Detox. Today we are talking about September 11, 2001 and the legacy it's had in general, but particularly on the generation who lived through it. To help us unpack all of this, I am joined by a professor of history at Central Connecticut State University and the author of a great book, Creating and Failing the 9/11 Generation, The Real Story of September 11. Welcome, Matthew Warshauer, to the Disinfo Detox.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here. Like I said, it's a great book. Someone who turned 18 right around that time. It really resonated, man. I got to say, and if folks out there around my age, I highly encourage them to read that book, because I think only people my age are still reading books. So let's talk about it, man. When you say the 9/11 generation, what are you talking about?
Oh, man, that's the hardest thing to define, right? And in particular, when you're talking about the age, right? When does one generation end? When does another begin? And when you just described that you were 18, I immediately thought, my initial thought right in my head was, all right, so is he on the tail end of the millennials, or is he on the front end of the 9/11 generation? And, this aspect of defining generations is, there's no perfect formula for it. But my essential, idea is that the 9/11 generation was, profoundly impacted by 9/11. Those who were old enough to see it are what I refer to as the direct 9/11 generation. They saw what happened. They witnessed for the first time in their lives true fear. And they saw it among their teachers. They saw it among their parents. I think one of the most commonly shared experiences in the country, and in particular on the East Coast, was kids disappearing from the classroom, parents showing up. Because, what are we going to do? Anybody out there who has kids is going to know when there's a catastrophe, the first thing you think is, oh my God, where are my kids? I need to go make sure my kids are safe. And so parents just flooded into the schools and started grabbing their children and taking them home. And then what did they do? They sat them down on the floor or on the couch in front of a TV with a never-ending loop of that flight slamming into the south side of the South Tower over and over and over again. And these kids had never seen their teachers, never seen their parents like that. So, and then the other side, the indirect 9/11 generation, they're not old enough to remember what happened that day, but they've grown up in the cultural chaos that has never left us, and it's still with us to this day.
And you mentioned in the book, I thought, this is what I meant about things that made me really think about that time period in a way I hadn't thought about it before. You mentioned in the book about how, and I remember being young and hearing this, that, man, you guys, don't watch that. Stop watching that plane hit that building, or stop watching those people fall from that building. That's, you shouldn't be watching that. But to us, it was, I don't want to say it was entertainment, but it was almost just kind of like there. It didn't evoke any, like, I don't know, pain in me as a young person. Now as an older person, I ironically barely watch it. When I see it, it evokes a certain pain. Can you talk about that? And especially in the context, I think you talked about The Falling Man, I believe is the name that was given.